What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Real Estate Moguls. My name is Findlay-Shirras, and on today's show, we have the founding CEO of Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate, a real estate brokerage that she is currently taking global, and we'll definitely get into that today. Now, while she's doing that, she's also launched and is a part of launching a second national brand, Climb Real Estate, a progressive, tech-savvy brokerage in the San Francisco Bay Area. She's been a leader in the real estate industry for over 30 years, so if you want to learn about the industry, the past and future from one of the most influential people in the real estate industry, then keep watching and listening. She's been the former COO of Coldwell Banker and Prudential Realty in California, former EVP of Royal LePage, one of the biggest Canadian brokerages, and to give a further shout out to all the Canadians watching, she's a graduate from the Richard Ivey Business School at the University of Western Ontario, which we actually share that in common, so that's super cool. And she is also a wine lover and advisor. I didn't even know there were advisors for wine, but she is on the advisory board for a wine society. She's a philanthropist. She loves helping those who are fortunate or less fortunate to have a home to live in, which is really fitting because she's in real estate. So I'm excited to get to know and learn from Ms. Sherry Chris. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
So for those of you who don't know you, maybe they are new to the industry or have been living under a rock, why don't you kind of let people know who you are and your story through this industry, from being a Canadian in the Canadian market to now being a leader in the global real estate market?
Well, you know, it's not that exciting a story, but there's always a story there. And I started my real estate career in Ontario, Canada,
Yep.
and I was raised primarily in London, Ontario, and started selling real estate back in the early 1980s, and loved it. Bought my first house when I was in my early 20s, and just became fixated with the industry, how to service clients, and the fact that home ownership is a great long-term growth strategy to build wealth for yourself and your families, and so I dove right in. So fast forward, I only sold for a couple of years. I like to talk about the fact that everybody has a highest and best use of themselves as individuals and business people, and my highest and best use ended up being helping others. So that's where I am today, and lead a great brand, two brands actually. Mm-hmm. And love what I do, and really like helping make this industry a better place. So after my lengthy stint at Royal LePage, which was a fabulous stint, and I still have many dear friends at that company, I started working in the US in 2003, ended up at Realogy in 2006, and have been there ever since. So I thought it was going to be a quick 5-year stint in the U.S., but it's ended up being a long time, 15 years.
Yeah, okay. Now, you obviously have things that come naturally to you. You have your own superpowers that you bring to the industry. What do you think that you do really well or know really well that maybe other people just aren't as good at?
Well, for me, I really believe that the more we openly share in our industry, the more that comes back to us as individuals, from a personal sense and a business sense. So I've always been somebody who's been willing to share my ideas with the industry at large, and as a result, I've been able to establish many, many, many great relationships over the years, and those relationships are true friends that would help me in a time of need, and vice versa. So, it's really wonderful to be able to pick up the phone and call one of your competitors and say, hey, I've got this problem, what do you think? That's really what this industry should be, and I'm fortunate myself to have built a network of friends that I don't just call business associates. We truly have close relationships. The other part of it that's really important that sometimes people don't think about is your own personal reputation. And so if you do the right thing each and every day, as difficult as that may be some days, you can always get up each and every morning and be proud of who you are as an individual and proud of what you're accomplishing. So Those are two of the things that are in my mind constantly.
Now, you've seen the industry evolve a lot, and I think two things are happening. One, it's just a techie, modern spin on the same stuff that's been happening year after year, decade after decade, but there really are some new things happening in the real estate industry. When you think about that, what are some of the new things that really are new today that were not happening 10, 20, 30 years ago in the industry? And what looks to be shiny and new is really just a modern version of the old?
Well, I like to break the industry into 4 different compartments. And those compartments are, time-based. So if we go back to my early years in real estate, I call that real estate 1.0. And what happens in real estate 1.0, or what happened, is that it was really a broker-driven environment back then, and many agents were employees. They weren't independent contractors. And so what my broker told me to do each and every day, I was terrified of him. So I went out and did that. Door knocking, open houses, don't come back into the office until you have a lead, all of those things. So that was way back then. Then Real Estate 2.0 emerged, and that was the agent-driven era of the 90s, where agents became independent contractors. Agents were, it's all about me, I'm number one, I'm great, and little regard, sadly, for the end consumer in that era. And so that was a fascinating time. And then suddenly, data and information, thanks to technology and the internet, started to emerge in a very significant way. And the customer became in control in Real Estate 3.0 era. Early 2000s, Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, Google, social media starting to emerge. So consumers really knew more than our agents did across the country about what they were looking for, and there was even a fear of disintermediation during that time. What are we going to need real estate agents for if we have access to everything? And so until very recently, that era continued. Now we're in Real Estate 4.0, a very, very exciting time.
Okay.
And Real Estate 4.0 is still consumer driven, but it's data driven. And so today data is king. And the more access we have to data, and boy, oh boy, do we have access to a lot, we are able to slice and dice and do predictive modeling, predictive analytics, artificial intelligence, machine learning. We know today when somebody's most likely to buy or sell, and those agents can zero in and create efficiencies using technology to sell more real estate and be more effective.
Okay, now give me a specific example of a pain point that's happening today with either the agent or the consumer, that because of this data, because of technology, that you're seeing that in 3, 5, 10 years, that will not be a problem anymore. What's like a specific
I'll
pain
tell you
point?
what a pain point is today, and it doesn't necessarily have to do with technology and data, because we have access to a lot of it, and it's getting more and more sophisticated each and every day. So we'll be, in the years to come, using technology in very different ways. But a pain point today is, where does the agent sit in all of this? And I believe that today's consumer, and I've studied a lot of research that tells me this, wants a deeper relationship with the real estate agent. They want to have that person not just be a trusted advisor, as we've been talking about for the last several years, but a deeper relationship where we're taking them through the dreaming phase. We're talking to them about, what do you want the next phase of your life to look like? And if you think about that in contrast to what our role was in the past, where we only stepped in as real estate agents when somebody had actually made that decision to either buy or sell. Today, consumers want us to be more involved. And I tell you this because it's one of the main reasons why we launched the Better Homes and Gardens real estate brand.
Okay, well, let's go into that. What is the founding story behind that, and some of the components of that brand that you wanted to make it different than all the other brands?
Well, that was the key, to be different, because if you look across the sea of real estate brands, excellent brands out there. Each brand is a great real estate brand that many of them have a lot of heritage. But what I wanted to do with Better Homes and Gardens is look for the gap, what's not being done, and fill that gap. And so if we back up to 2008 when we launched, what was happening back then, and is still happening to a large extent, is that real estate companies and brands are very transaction focused. How many deals did you do last month, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. And the consumer is very lifestyle and community focused. They want to know what their community is going to look like, that they want to live in. Do they want dog parks? Do they want water? They want to dream about what their lifestyle will look like as they move through the different segments of their lives. And so that's why we developed the Better Homes and Gardens brand as, what we call the first lifestyle real estate brand. And back then people were like, what are you talking about? Others in the industry. And so today, interestingly enough, makes me smile, is that many real estate brands talk about lifestyle and the importance of it. And so in today's world, we, all have a certain lifestyle. I do, you do. Mm-hmm. And, we want to make sure that we're so busy each and every day that we're able to maximize what we like by living our lifestyle. And so Better Homes and Gardens, the magazine, the brand, and real estate really does accomplish that. The Better Homes and Gardens brand, just to share a couple of statistics, is read by 40 million consumers each and every month. It has 96% brand awareness, and the fastest growing demographic of new readers are millennials.
And what kind of content are people finding in these magazines?
They're finding design and decorating content, crafts, how to do various things, how to raise your family, if you're a new mother, lots of tips on babies and children, gardening, interior decor, outerior.
And people are like, there's authors for it. Is it self-published? Are you aggregating content? Like, how is it?
We have so much content, and it's actually aggregated by the writers of the magazine. And so there are many, many newsletters out there that Better Homes and Gardens readers can subscribe to based on their needs. Even wine is one of them.
Now, back before social media, because the content in this magazine was happening before social media, correct?
The magazine launched in the early 1920s, so a long time ago.
And so that was before, like, the information age, and content is everywhere on the internet, and everyone's a content creator. So how have you thought about how to change the way you are a content-focused brand because of, one, all the content on the internet, and two, the technologies that help curate content?
Well, if you look at content, there are different categories of content. And so in the early internet days, people just wanted content. So that's why, some of us would spend hours on YouTube looking at puppy videos or something. I'm making a joke, but I'm really not. And so that was fun back then. And then you realized, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And today, because we're so used to getting all of the content that we need, we want high quality content. We want to, take the time that we're spending, dreaming about real estate or whatever it is, with the highest quality content and information. And so that's what we're able to do at BH&G and BH&G Real Estate, because we count on the magazine content, the photography, the videography, to be the highest quality. So it's really pleasing to the end consumer. And when we think about that magazine, it's number one on Pinterest, number one on Facebook.
Really?
5 million in the lifestyle category.
Wow.
Yeah, and so we're able to take that content and interact with that content ourselves and pass that on to our agents and brokers as well.
What's the future for that content? Personalization, customization,
All
interactivity?
All of the above. So,
is there any projects you're working on right now in terms of where it's going?
We have so much going on with content. I'll tell you one of our recent projects that has been a huge success, and that is that about 3 years ago we were looking at social, and we actually launched the brand on social media. It was early day Twitter and Facebook then, and LinkedIn, and that was our platform, social media, to launch the Better Homes and Gardens real estate brand. But what we found over the years is that in looking at real estate brands' social sites, you'd see like how to,
fix your gutter.
Yeah, how to fix your gutter, good one. I don't know where that came from, but how to create a vegetable garden.
Yeah.
And then the next post would be, 10 steps for agents to conduct a successful open house.
Yeah.
So it was confusing to the consumer, and still is. So we sat down, we said, okay, we need to split our social strategy, B2B, for content directed to agents and brokers, and B2C, content directed to the consumer. And so what happened is both of those channels took off, but the consumer channel exploded. And so that was a wise decision to make. And so we continue to grow that content on social. Now Instagram, of course, plays a major role as well. That's my favorite site.
Yeah.
And I love it. And because you can get right down to the nitty gritty, without going through all the noise. So that was one project that, has been a big success for us.
And you guys are also growing globally. And how do you think about where to go?
Well, we look at feeder markets. So, our first foray into international was not really international at all, because it was Canada, where we're both.
Started.
Yes, yeah. And now that we're in the Bahamas, we're in Jamaica, and of course, just under 400 offices in the U.S. We launched last year, soft launch last year, big launch coming up in a couple of months in Australia. Reason being is that the magazine licenses its name to other publishers, and Better Homes and Gardens is huge in Australia. The brand, the magazine, there's a TV show, so it was a natural extension to sell the master franchising rights to a group of very, very smart investors that are building it out there. And so they're also going to move into New Zealand. We have interest in China, where the magazine has been very strong. Japan, very, very design-oriented countries that are interested in the Better Homes and Gardens brand, and we have, we've got contacts there too. So what we're not doing is, we're trying to mirror where the brand is strong rather than just expand anywhere.
I mean, that's probably a strength, because you could just pick a country because there's real estate presence, but if you already have a media presence,
exactly,
then it makes it a lot safer for you guys to expand.
It does, and it makes it a lot easier for our partners too, because there's already a brand awareness and brand recognition there. So they're not starting from ground zero.
Interesting, okay. Now, how did you get into this other real estate brokerage? Are they a competitor, or are they a part of the Realogy brands? Like, how did you get into Climb?
Well, Climb, Climb is owned by Realogy, which is our parent company, and most people know that Realogy owns Coldwell Banker, Century 21, ERA, Sotheby's, Corcoran, Better Homes and Gardens, and Climb. And so I first met the founder of Climb, the two founders, Mark Choi and Chris Lim, when we launched BH&G, because Climb launched around the same time. So we kept, just mirroring each other, both strong, culturally aligned brands. We were a franchise brand expanding nationally. They were a local Bay Area real estate brand. And so we often talked about what we might do together, created a strong relationship. Then, 3.5 years ago, Realogy bought Climb. And, as an incubator, as a test brand, trying new things. And So now we're looking at, what do we want Climb to be in the future? So the people that I work for at Realogy approached me and said, hey, you're really the only one in this building who's launched a national real estate brand. So how would you like to work on more than one? Mm-hmm. So that's, how it all happened. And of course it was a natural fit because, I know the culture, I know the founders who are both still engaged, and so we're all working together now.
And what's their niche? What's their brand differentiator? I know they're really techy, but what tech? What are they really bringing to the table that other brokerages aren't?
Well, what they do is they, they're able to move really quickly, and so they they incubate new technology with their agents in the Bay Area, which is interesting, and try different things. And they really are an indie brand with a strong culture. So the types of brokers that are attracted to that brand are what I call, young, successful indie brokers that, that want to grow. So right now we are, we're not launching nationally this year. We're building out different, we're modeling different scenarios as to what a national launch should look like. And in the meantime, it's business as usual in San Francisco Bay Area with Climb. They're continuing to grow, and I love going out there and hanging out with them because I get inspired myself.
Now, you guys made recently a very big move. In the news, Realogy is now partnered with Amazon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Some people listening probably might have no idea because it's so fresh and new. So can you please give some insight into what this partnership is all about?
Well, it is exciting, I have to say. We just announced it on Tuesday morning, and it's Thursday afternoon.
Yeah.
And there's been a huge buzz. I've never seen as much media response to the announcement, because what's been happening is that in various real estate and technology circles, people have been talking about when is either Facebook, Google, or Amazon going to get into real estate. Mm-hmm. And so Amazon is not in real estate, contrary to what some people have verbalized. Right. And yes, but Amazon has partnered with Realogy to provide leads and to expand what they do into the real estate space. So it's kind of complicated because what we didn't want to do was just open it up and suddenly have all of these leads flowing in and nobody's managing them properly, et cetera, et cetera. So we took a very structured approach to it. And one of the companies that we own at Realogy is called Cartus Relocation. They're the largest relocation company in the world, and they have a lot of structure in hundreds of thousands of relocation closings around the world each year. So we're channeling these leads through Cartus, and we're in 15 pilot test markets now. So I'm a big believer, and my colleagues at Realogy the same, is that you test it, tweak it, and launch it. And so we're piloting it now in the 15 markets. So what happens is a consumer will, on the Amazon site, sign up to be referred to a Realogy agent. And upon successful completion of the transaction, depending on the sale price, they get, a bunch of gifts that have a dollar value attached to them.
Tell me about what the people get, what the sales price is and what the different gift amounts are from Amazon.
Well, it starts with a lower sale price where they can receive a gift from between $1,000 and $5,000. So if they have, as an example, a home that's over $800,000, they'll receive a $5,000 gift package.
Do they have to put an Alexa in their home? Is that part of the deal?
Yeah, I don't think so. So, that might be a gift. Yeah. Might be one of the gifts.
Do they get to select the gifts, or does Amazon just send it to them?
I think they get to select the gifts from a selection of stuff. Yeah. So, listen, we launched it 2 days ago, so it's still all a work in progress. But I won't share the numbers with you because we're keeping that confidential. But what I will say is that there's been a significant interest and number of leads generated in the last 2 days. So we'll leave it at that.
Now, when I think like my company and brokerages, like it's all about making the agent happy and successful, providing great experience to the consumer, and the brokerages having a feasible business model forever and ever. And we've now seen the brokerages at the very beginning started doing a deal with Zillow way back in the day, not knowing what would come of it. And now it's a bit of a sticky situation. Zillow's getting into buying and selling homes. Brokers sometimes like Zillow, sometimes don't like Zillow. And now Amazon is an even bigger brand with even bigger financial power behind them to do a lot of different things. How are you making sure that you're not putting them in a position where they can start to have more power that takes control away from the agent and the brokerage?
Well, we never want that to happen. And so, our partnerships are that partnerships. And, at the Realogy level, we have a partnership with Zillow and the Zillow suite of tools and products. And so we meet with them regularly. We don't know what the future is going to hold. I mean, listen, we could wake up one morning and everything's turned upside down. Who knows? But what we do know today is that agents want leads. And, with the ongoing and increasing sophistication of technology, we should be able to provide agents with good quality leads. And I'd never want to characterize a consumer as a lead, but you know what I'm talking about. And so that's how people start the search today. They're starting on other sites and they're finding agents, scoping those agents out on social and making a decision as to who to deal with. So, in many respects, our industry is the same. Used to be referrals. Referral business before technology and before the internet. Now it's lead generation through technology and partnerships. And so
would you still call these leads relationships and referrals? Because I mean, even Zillow came out with that stat. I mean, every year they come out saying 50, 60% of all transactions happen through relationships and referrals, and the other 50 to 40 to 30% comes from all these different types of advertising and lead generation sources. I would look at a lead coming from Amazon as an advertising source with pulling an agent away from the relationship and referral-based lead source, which is more profitable, which is they refer more business if they came from a referral. And now the agent's in control of the relationship and the lead versus giving it to some other platform.
Right. Well, let's look at it this way. So there's so many different, statistics that are being thrown around. But one that I do want to share with you that is a little disheartening, and that is that historically, 80%, and this comes from the National Association of Realtors. They do a consumer survey each and every year. And so one of the things that survey tells us is that 80% of consumers, although they're happy with the agent that they transacted with, do not do repeat business with that agent. 80% of consumers go elsewhere. So that is something that we know for a fact. And why is that? There's a simple answer, and that is that we typically do not keep in contact with the people that we've done business with. So, we sell a house, and I say we, referring to the industry in that we sell a house, we send a closing gift, and we move on. And so that's been since the beginning of time. Now, it was more difficult in the past because we didn't have technology, so we couldn't send, electronic messaging and to consumers. Today, it should be very easy to do that, and it is. And so we need to keep in touch with consumers, so we're truly able to practice, what we've been calling for a long time, customer for life. And so when you look at the NAR statistic, we're not really effectively practicing customer for life. It's one of the reasons why Zillow and Trulia were able to come into our industry and create a first point of contact platform create an experience that broker websites were not able to do by aggregating information, public information, and having it all available in one spot. Our industry's changed, and it's going to continue to change. And we need to keep on top of it and keep ahead of it. But one thing that we definitely need to do is exceed consumers' expectations, because if we don't, if the over 1 million realtors here in the U.S. do not do that, then we will start to become extinct.
Well, I could ask you lots of questions, but I want to help people get to know you with some rapid fire lightning round questions.
Yeah.
So whatever comes to your mind, please say it. What's a better country to live in, Canada or the United States?
Oh, good question. So I'm going to say both for different reasons. I love my birthplace, and I own a home in Canada, and I own a home in the United States.
What's your favorite city in Canada?
Well, it's a toss-up between Toronto and Vancouver, but I have to throw a third in, and that is St. John's, Newfoundland, and that's where I got stranded 9/11 there, just by chance, and because so many planes landed there, and the hospitality of the people was so incredible, and now there's a play about it.
I saw that play.
Yeah, that's right. So I was there.
Come away with me or whatever, right?
Come from away.
Come from away.
Fabulous. So,
that was so cool. You were basically the characters in that play.
Yeah, more or less.
That is hilarious. Okay, what's your favorite city in the U.S.?
New York.
Yeah. What's the number one reason why agents fail? If you just sum it up.
Nobody is holding them accountable. They're not holding themselves accountable, and they are not structured.
What do you think agents waste their time on?
Anything but trying to have a face-to-face contact with the prospect.
I love it. What do you think they waste their money on?
Advertising that they don't properly follow up on.
And what do you want to see the real estate industry become in the future?
I'd like to see it become a more professional than it is today, where we're working more collaboratively together as an industry, providing exceptional customer service to the end consumer, and that there is not a consumer out there that doesn't recognize and understand fully what the role and responsibility of a licensed realtor should be.
Well, we'll end with that. Thank you so much, Sherry, for being on the show.
My pleasure, Grant.
As always, if you want to get to know the leaders in real estate, I do my best to bring them on the show so you can get to know them, get to know their perspectives, because they know where the industry has been, which they then therefore know where the industry is going. And you need to know if you want to be great as a real estate agent, as a broker, as a startup, as an investor. So subscribe to that YouTube channel or the podcast, and I'll see you soon.